Ski Cooper is weird. Nestled right between other mega resorts like Vail and Copper, the small non-profit ski hill harbors zero debt and is proceeding into a future anchored by an ambitious master development plan, the draft of which was released in May of 2025. There's a lot to love about the direction Cooper is trending. However, when digging into the details of the plan, we found a lot of things that are, well, let's call them questionable. So today, we're going to break down what all Ski Cooper wants to build, why they want to do it, and what we think about the projects. Join us as we explore the new Ski Cooper Master Development Plan. Now, a quick background for those who are new. Master Development Plans, called MDPs for short, are huge documents submitted to the Forest Service by ski areas that outline their plans for the future. If you want a much more detailed explanation, see the video in the card at the top right of your screen, but the critical piece to understand is that MDPs are not an exact blueprint for future projects, as plans are allowed to change, and each project still needs individual approval from the Forest Service before implementation. Rather uniquely, this master plan includes estimated costs, which we will bring up when applicable throughout the breakdown. The other important number to understand is comfortable carrying capacity, which is just how many people the mountain can handle without it getting overcrowded. CCC is not a hard cap, and it is exceeded on a few days a year at most mountains, to which Cooper is no outlier. Keep this concept in mind throughout the video as well. Now, Ski Cooper is certainly unique among Colorado, as their low ticket rates and central location have drawn more and more visitors from out of town while still maintaining a large local presence and vibe. According to the MDP, visitation over the 23-24 season was 101,258 total guests, an increase of nearly 2,000 from the year prior and an increase of about 39,000 since the 2014-2015 season. Such newfound visitation from the Front Range has in turn led to higher revenue numbers. According to tax reports gathered by ProPublica, Ski Cooper earned about $6.77 million in 2024 against expenses of $5.64 million. With this baseline of well over $1 million in net revenue per year and anticipated growth each further season, it is clear that Cooper is on track to save the capital necessary to enact this full plan without accumulating any debt or using taxpayer funds. Thus, while the mountain doesn't see nearly the same crowds as the mega resorts around it do, the higher visitation and earnings present both a problem and the solution. The basic essence is simple. Cooper needs to expand. Soon. In order to achieve this, the MDP puts forth a three-phased plan which would double the current CCC, jumping from 1,819 to 3,682 guests. Rather than going by categories such as lifts, expansions, and facilities as we usually do in these videos, we'll go in the order of the phasing proposed in the MDP since Cooper was so gracious to provide it for us. So, with all this laborious background out of the way, let's finally dive right into Phase 1. Phase 1 is a $13 million plan to address base area crowding and out-of-base capacity. This includes 3 major projects, of which the headliner is a brand new fixed-grip quad chairlift that would run parallel to the existing 10th Mountain Double. This would be huge for the mountain, as the existing double has very limited capacity, and this would diversify the routes out of the base in case of a breakdown of any of the lifts. This project was a part of the 1999 master plan and was previously approved, but was originally going to be a direct replacement. The additional lift really does make sense, and we like that they're going that route instead of replacement. However, the thing about fixed grip lifts is that they're hard to load, especially at a beginner level like much of Ski Cooper's clientele is. At a maximum speed of 450 feet per minute, the 5,845-foot lift would take 13 minutes with no stops or slowdowns. As evidenced by the frequent misloads and unloads on the existing double, that's an unlikely scenario, leading the lift to more likely take somewhere in the realm of 16 to 17 minutes. That may not seem horrible on paper, but in practice, by minute 11 or 12, snowboarders start getting impatient and jumping off. I'm mostly kidding, but you get the point. It's going to be a terribly long ride time. According to New England ski history via the Vermont Act 250 database, a new Heaven's Gate fixed grip quad installed at Sugarbush last year cost just a hair over $4 million. Meanwhile, according to a manufacturer bid we have by Leitner Poma for the Hudson detachable quad, which is of a very similar length to the one at Sugarbush, the cost was $8.165 million. We understand the reservations about installing a detachable chairlift on the 10th Mountain alignment regarding the nature of the ski area. However, given that a detachable costs only about double a fixed grip, and the fact it would make the experience just that much better, we're a bit disappointed not to see the plan involve a detachable, particularly in this alignment. Not only does a detachable enable faster laps, it makes the loading and unloading experience significantly more pleasant for beginners, encouraging them to return to the mountain. A detachable will only achieve the same capacity a fixed grip would, so trail crowding would not be an issue. The primary problem with a detachable in this circumstance is simply the patience it would require to accumulate the capital for the investment. We truly believe that the juice would be worth the squeeze. However, I've said it before and I'll say it again. We are not experts, so take what we say for whatever you will. Another significant piece of Phase 1 would be the construction of a 12,000 square foot addition to the base lodge. With the rising visitation numbers, the base area buildings, even more so than the lifts themselves, have seen matching rising crowds, at times overflowing the current dining and seating capacity. This new facility will hugely expand kitchen and seating space, making Cooper's lunch experience that much better. The hill currently has some of the more reasonably priced food we've seen at a ski area, so with more space to produce and enjoy that food, it could become one of the few ski areas where lunch might actually be one of the highlights of the day. The facility would also host public lockers and improved and expanded restrooms, along with many other administrative offices and service spaces. The final piece of Phase 1 would be a 2 3/4 acre expansion to the parking lot in order to accommodate further growth. Naturally, Phase 1 is the most likely of all three phases to be fully built out, and we have full confidence, barring another pandemic or significant world event, that in the coming years we'll start to see this come to fruition. While we are disappointed by the proposal of a slow fixed grip quad instead of a nice detachable one, this phase represents the most critical plans for Cooper to host further spikes in visitation. Now let's be honest, Phase 1's projects were fairly predictable. Phase 2, on the other hand, is where it gets fun. This $12 million plan is centered around a huge expansion, with lots of supporting projects to go along with it. The plan proposes a new fixed grip double that would run from the bottom of the Little Horse T-bar up the opposing Chicago Ridge. This new lift, called Sawmill, would be a fixed grip double running about halfway up a bowl and opening up 250 acres of new terrain. This new terrain would comprise 8 blues and 5 blacks, which would offer open bowl skiing on their upper sections before transitioning into traditional tree cut runs lower down. This is part of the expansive terrain that was served by snowcats for a number of years, but Cooper cut that program a few years ago because it perennially ran at a loss. For the longest time, Cooper was entirely cut runs. With the addition of the T-bar in Tennessee Creek Basin, Cooper added tree skiing, meaning that aside from extreme terrain, this lift opening high alpine terrain would check the final box for Cooper to become a truly well-rounded Rockies mountain. Because the lift is planned to only go halfway up the slope, it also opens the opportunity for further lift-served expansion higher up. Additionally, it opens the opportunity for hike to or cat skiing further to the sides of the cut runs. A double chair in this alignment makes perfect sense, as it will be serving primarily higher level skiers in a location that's hard to get to and from. Overall, we really like this project, but with one reservation. Our sole qualm with this new expansion is the egress. Everybody who skis this new pod will have to ski down into Tennessee Creek Basin and ride the Little Horse T-bar to return from the pod. This means a handful of things. Of course, there's the concern about if Little Horse goes down for any reason. But even bigger than that, we would argue that the requirement to take a surface lift may discourage some skiers from heading to Sawmill. While the primary purpose is to diversify the terrain offerings, a secondary objective would be to spread skiers out, as is with any expansion project. In our eyes, Little Horse might really scare away some of the intermediates who might otherwise really enjoy skiing the bowl terrain. This is, of course, a pretty minor concern without real impact to the ski area. It's just a little unfortunate for the experience of a select population. Now, to support the expansion, a number of smaller projects will need to be undertaken alongside it. The first is a skier bridge across the creek in order to connect the existing Little Horse side with the Sawmill side. Additionally, a small ski patrol outpost would be built at the top of the new chairlift. At the summit of the current footprint, a new, more permanent patrol headquarters would be built. And down at the base area, 2 new buildings would be built to house ski school and a maintenance shop. These other small projects wouldn't necessarily be noticeable to the everyday skier, but would contribute more than just the sum of their parts, as they make Cooper a much more rounded mountain and business. While we probably won't be seeing this all built in the next decade, it wouldn't surprise us to see it built out eventually. Phase 3 is where it starts to get into more wish list territory, as the $14.5 million plan includes another big facility and another big expansion as its headliners, along with one project that's a bit of a dark horse. Let's start with the facility, which would see the construction of a 5,000 square foot lodge at Cooper Summit, replacing the current Ridgeview Cafe yurt. This new facility would have a full cafeteria, along with restrooms and a bar. This would be a huge upgrade, offering the full lunch experience outside of the base area that the current yurt just doesn't have the space to offer. That yurt would then be relocated to the bottom of the Sawmill and Little Horse lifts, with limited dining just as it is now. They would also construct composting toilets in that location as well. The next big piece is an expansion called Hoyt's, which would be anchored by another double chair. This 140-acre expansion would see 5 new blues built to the looker's right side of the upper main face. Cooper's strength is already its low-intermediate terrain, and this would just add even more of that to explore. A double chair is a bit of a curious choice here, as we could foresee the low capacity of the lift getting overwhelmed if the terrain proves to be popular. If we were doing it, we would go with a fixed grip quad, but this project is so far in the future that we're not going to complain about anything just yet. Odds are, some element of this plan will change over time. Over on the front side, the Buckeye Platter would be replaced by a T-bar. The Buckeye Platter is one of the oldest operating lifts in the state, and as such may end up being due for replacement before they get around to Phase 3. Either way, it's replacing a surface lift with a surface lift, almost purely for age concerns, and that's all. We don't have much to comment on this one. Another piece of Phase 3 would be a further 1.9 acre parking expansion to continue to increase the daily capacity of the hill. So now, all that out of the way, we come to what is, quite possibly, the most underrated project in this entire master development plan, the installation of snowmaking. Cooper currently relies on natural snow, and while its high elevation and location allow it to receive plenty of that, lift loads and unloads, the race course, and the lowest couple hundred feet of the mountain can be pretty bare when the mountain opens in December. A simple snowmaking loop would allow Cooper to make snow on Sitzmark and Black Powder, along with on the lift loads and unloads, allowing the early season operations to be that much more reliable as weather patterns get more and more volatile. Out of all of the Phase 3 plans, we believe that this is the most likely to come to fruition the soonest. So there you have it. 2 new lodges, more parking, 4 new lifts, 2 expansions, and plenty more outline the vision Ski Cooper has put forth for its future. This MDP is only in the draft phase, and is several steps away from Forest Service approval, so there is still opportunity for them to change elements. However, this presents a clear roadmap for what and how the resort plans to embrace the future as their visitation rises each year. We would love to hear your guys' thoughts on the plan in the comments, and if you have any further questions, please put them down below as well. If you enjoyed this video or found it informative, please consider subscribing to help this stream. Thank you all so much for watching. All my love, I'm out.